Hello friends, in this lecture we're going to learn how to create tile sets. Okay, so inside of the tile set folder we have two different textures. Let's open up this one. In here, as you can see, we have a bunch of different tiles drawn in a very specific way. We're going to use these to paint a map. To be able to do that, we first need to create a tile set from this texture, and then we need to create a tile map from the tile set. So that's going to be the game plan, and in this lecture we're going to learn how to create and use the tile set. To do that, we first need to right-click on the tile set texture, go to Sprite Actions and click on Create Tile Set. That's going to create the tile set asset. Then we're going to open it up. In here, first of all, we need to set the tile size on the right-hand side here to the correct value. By default, it's going to be 32 by 32, which happens to be the correct size, but that's not always going to be the case. So if you're using a different tile set, for example, if it is 16 by 16, go ahead and put 16 by 16 here. You'll understand if you're using the correct value if you click on any one of the tiles, because it's going to select it. And if the size of the tile is not correct, then you know that you have to change it. But as you can see, when I select the tile, it is the correct size. And after you select it, you should also be able to see it here in the single tile editor. In here, underneath tile set, we have a bunch of different options that we can change about the tile set. And underneath that, there's the single tile editor where we can change things about the individual tile. But the most important thing here is going to be assigning collision data for the tiles. I should also say that the purpose of the tile set is basically configuring the whole tile set and also individual tiles. So that's the purpose. And like I said a second ago, the most important thing we're going to do here is going to be creating collision data for these tiles. Because if we create a level, we want the player to be able to stand on these platforms. So let's go ahead and create the collision data. If you take a look at the tiles, you will see that the bottom ones here, these ones are for the background. So these are not going to have any collision, but these top ones will have collision. We're going to go one by one. So just click on the first one here. And up here in the toolbar, we have a bunch of different options to create collision. Add box is going to create a box collision shape. Add polygon is going to create a polygon. And circle is going to create a circle. Since these tiles are boxes, we're going to just go ahead and click on Add Box. And that's going to create this collision shape and place it on top of the tile. After you create it, you can click on somewhere else and then click on individual vertices here. And you can also move them like that. Currently we have the snap set to 10. We can actually make that 1. And then you're going to be able to more freely control it, just like that. But in this case, we don't need to do that because all of these are boxes. Now we need to go through one by one for each of these and create a box collision shape. I'm also going to go into Show and stop showing the grid. Click on Add Box. And now we're going to do this for each one of these. Unfortunately, you can't just pick multiple of these like that and then click on Add Box. It doesn't work that way. So you're gonna have to go through one by one and do this. Since this is going to be the same, exactly the same for each one of these, I'm going to do this, skip this part, because it's going to be boring, but just go ahead and do this for these tiles. Don't do them for the background ones. Okay, so I created a collision shape, a box collision shape for each one of these. So that is awesome. Like I said, we don't need to create it for these ones. And now the tile set is basically ready to use. Let's save it. The next step is going to be creating a tile map, but we're not going to do that in this lecture. And instead, we're going to create another tile set from this texture right here. So let's take a look at this texture. In here, we have two different platforms, and these are also 32 by 32. We're going to create a tile set from them and assign the collision data. But as you can see, the collision is going to be slightly different because these platforms are much thinner compared to the tiles we had. So what you have to do is create a box shape and then adjust the vertices to only cover the top part of the tile. So that's a little hint for you. So go ahead and create a tile set from the platform texture and follow the same process. Okay, let's go ahead and right click on this, create a tile set, open it up. The tile size is going to be 32 by 32. Like I said, we can click on these tiles to take a look at the size. And as you can see, it's correct. The platform bits are at the top of the tiles. So we're going to have to create a box shape first. And then we're going to, first of all, I'm going to turn off the grid. And then I will select the top two. And to do that, I'm going to hold down the control key and select both of them. And then I'm going to move them down just a little. And then I'll do the same thing for the bottom two here. And move them up about that size. That's going to be enough. And then we're going to do the same thing for all of them basically. Create a box, select the top two, move it down a little until it meets the edge, the top edge. And then I'm going to select the bottom two and bring it up until there. I'm not including this part because I don't want the collision shape to be too big. I want the player's head to be able to, go into the platform a little because that's going to feel more natural. So why don't you just go ahead and do that as well, and I'll skip ahead because it's going to be the same process and I don't want to, bore you with the same process. For this one, for the thicker ones, you're gonna bring it up to here as well. So let's just go ahead and do that. Okay, I created the collision shapes for all of these. As you can see, the ones in the bottom are a little thicker, but the process was the same. Also, it turns out you can simply click on the whole line here at the bottom to pick the 2 points. So instead of holding down control and picking them one by one, you can also click on these lines to pick the 2 points just like that. And that's going to be it for this tile set as well. Now we have the collision data and the tile size is also correct. And like I said, the next step is going to be creating a tile map. And the cool thing is we're going to be able to mix these two tile sets. So we can use these two tile sets in the same tile map. So that's going to be very cool. And we're going to do that in the next lecture. In this one, as a recap, we learned how to create a tile set from a texture. And then we learned how to change the tile size and also assign collision data for each tile.